Now at 9, how the Joplin Regional Airport will be using a more than $800,000 federal grant. Plus, road workers are raising awareness about safe driving in a work zone, and how a fundraising golf event is helping those in need.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jalen Banks. A man involved in the shooting death of a Nevada, Missouri woman learns his sentence. Jason Hallman is sentenced to 32 total years in prison. He was charged with second-degree murder for 25 years. His second-degree assault and second-degree burglary charges are 7 years each and will run concurrently. The victim was 30-year-old Tara Hallam. The crime happened in 2019. When officers arrived to a home in the 200 block of South Spring Street, they found Jason Hallam and Tara Hallam inside the home with gunshot wounds. Tara died at the hospital. Authorities say Jason is a prior and persistent offender. A Joplin resident claims he feared for his safety and the safety of others during a struggle with an armed suspect. The incident happened around 1 a.m. on Saturday. Authorities responded to reports of a gunshot coming from the area of 5th and Joplin Avenue. Police say staff at Club XO denied entry to a man, and then the man allegedly went to a car in the parking lot. A citizen says they followed the man and saw him get an AR-style pistol from the car. The citizen then put the suspect in a neck restraint, and the suspect left the scene. They later arrested 28-year-old Christopher Carter of Joplin, who has felony convictions and is prohibited from being in possession of a firearm. Authorities charged Carter with unlawful possession of a firearm. Carter was released on a $25,000 bond. And now we go to weather. Meteorologist Sam Lane joins us with the first look.
All right, let's take a look outside right now. You can see that showers and thunderstorms are well off towards the east. We're looking for that activity to continue to stay towards the east. And we have a ridge of high pressure building in from the west. And we're also watching a storm system on the west coast. That's going to start moving towards us and won't get here until about Thursday. That's when we'll start to see the winds increase, especially on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then maybe some severe storms on Thursday afternoon. And of course, I'll have all the details in your forecast when we come back.
Joplin Regional Airport is receiving an $860,000 grant to update the airfield lighting and monitoring system in the control tower. The money comes from a bipartisan infrastructure bill that provides $15 billion to U.S. airports for more than 5 years for repairs and modernization. Every year, $20 million is set aside for airports with an AFFA contract tower. Joplin is one of 33 airports that were approved.
The city owns the tower, but it's manned by a contractor that contracts with the FAA. So instead of having FAA controllers themselves, they're paid for through a private company that contracts with the FAA.
The airfield lights and monitoring equipment in the tower are more than 14 years old. These updates will help pilots communicate with the tower and improve safety at no effect to passengers.
Passengers will probably see no difference. Commercial passengers. Pilots might see a little bit of difference. They might see some more efficient use of some of the equipment that's already out here. But it's basically an infrastructure improvement.
The grant money has already been allocated. The airport is planning to install the new equipment in June. Joplin residents can look forward to a new outdoor recreation area. Missouri Governor Mike Parson announced a more than $1.4 million grant to build the new outdoor space south of Zora Avenue and east of Lone Elm Road. The nearly 100-acre area will include bicycle-related amenities ranging from a BMX-style pump track, a children's bike playground, and 5 to 7 miles of single-track mountain bike trail. No word yet when the construction will begin or completion date. The Joplin Convention and Visitors Bureau is now offering grants to 2 market events and attractions that will happen next year. A city official, Patrick Tuttle, says every year they have around $140,000 that's in the fund to be handed out as grants. Applicants can seek up to $25,000 per event. Once applications are submitted, the Bureau will then decide which grants to accept based on what the value of the events will be.
Any event that really has a draw of the public, open to the public, our wish is something that's going to be able to generate hotel rooms and bring people from out of Joplin into Joplin. So we're really looking for events that are Joplin-based events, but could benefit from a larger draw.
The city is accepting grant applications until early June. A fundraiser to benefit a local recovery outreach group teed off this afternoon. The Accent Recovery Charity Golf Tournament was held at Joplin's Twin Hills Golf Course. KOAM Shagun Bomdali has more.
We don't charge for any of the services that we have at The Rock.
Accent Recovery supports people recovering from drugs or substance abuse.
And the residents do pay a small fee for their program, but it's not enough to cover like all the expenses that, you know, the expenses that you have in running things, and you have to have salaries, you have to pay people to do all the things that you do. I mean, it's a pretty costly operation to provide all the services that we provide for people.
Brayton Fields is the board president at Accent. He says the group relies on community support.
The power of community is what I think is so important. So when people come together to support something, even if you're not deep in the trenches, like if you're not volunteering or maybe on the board or even on staff with Accent Recovery, to just be a part of it, like there is great power when we come together collectively as people.
Accent provides 2 residential programs, and they rely on fundraisers like this one.
We get a chance to talk to the people about the work and the transformations that take place at Accent. And we have people here that rent to some of our guys, and you know, and they see these changes taking place in these people as they go into the community and become active citizens in the community.
Reporting in Joplin, Shagun Bamdele, KOAM News.
You can find a link to more about Accent's programs and fundraising on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Coming up, the AAP announces a new policy to keep e-cigarettes out of the hands of teenagers. The American Academy of Pediatrics says more needs to be done to keep kids away from tobacco. On Monday, the AAP published its new set of policy statements, which are based on updated information on related issues, including e-cigarette usage. Researchers say e-cigs remain popular with teens and preteens, and the use of hookahs and cigars has not declined. The AAP is calling on the Food and Drug Administration to be more firm with its regulation of tobacco and nicotine products. They also want more federal funding for tobacco prevention programs. Immunotherapy can significantly benefit lung cancer patients. In a phase 3 trial led by researchers from the University of Texas, results showed a 32% lower chance of disease recurrence, progression, or death with immunotherapy plus chemotherapy versus chemotherapy alone. Researchers in Canada may have found a way to scrub forever chemicals out from tap water. Forever chemicals are hazardous compounds that can persist in the environment for years. Breaking them down and keeping them out of the water supply has been a challenge. The chemicals have been linked to infertility, thyroid problems, and several types of cancer. But Canadian researchers say they have developed a new method to filter the toxic chemicals from water. The filter looks like tiny porous plastic beads that can remove long and short chain chemicals at rates that match or exceed industry standards. Sam is back with a complete look at the forecast, and later, Girard and Frontenac square off in a battle of 2 of the best softball teams in Southeast Kansas.
Well, another beautiful day across the 4 states with lots of sunshine, bright blue skies, and warm temperatures. Right now, let's take a look outside at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort down in Seneca, Missouri. A pretty nice night shaping up down there. Just a few high clouds spilling in from the west, and we're going to see those clouds increase as we head through the next couple of days. The allergies, they've been bad again today, 10.8, and tomorrow a little bit worse at 11.3 on the scale of 0 to 12, so most of that is ash and birch trees. This morning, believe it or not, we were only 4 degrees away from the record. The record was 30 back in 1953, and we got all the way down to 34 degrees this morning, so quite chilly. And then we made it up to 75, so a wild range of temperatures, and that's because all that dry air in place, allowing the temperature to fall really far down in the night and then rising just as much in the afternoon. We can see we're behind on the rainfall again, and hopefully that's going to be changing as well over the next few days. Radar is clear over our area right now, nothing really going on, a few showers out in western Oklahoma. Temperatures at the current hour are generally in the mid-60s, 66 in Fort Scott, pick out your hometown, 63 in Monette, 57 cool degrees right now up at Stockton. Rain chances over the next 36 hours look like this. There is a slight chance of showers tomorrow morning, especially up towards the north, and then rain chances begin to climb again as we move into Wednesday morning. In fact, Wednesday we're expecting a slight risk of severe weather, mainly in south central Kansas on up towards southeastern Nebraska. Our far northwestern counties might encounter some of this late Wednesday into early Thursday. And as the front moves through Thursday, we could see a repeat of those storms in our area, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment. Rainfall amounts with those individual thunderstorms on Thursday could reach over an inch, and it's most needed in southeastern Kansas, and it looks like some folks may actually get enough rain to dampen the dust a little bit. Temperatures tonight are going to be in the mid-50s, and notice the best chance of showers with the next system is going to be up towards the north, and then with south winds. And then Tuesday afternoon looks great. Mostly sunny skies, once again, upper 70s to lower 80s, especially out towards the west. A little bit on the breezy side, so hang on to your hat. And then as we go into Wednesday morning, we'll see milder lows with mostly cloudy skies, lows generally in the 60s on brisk south winds, and those winds are going to increase on Wednesday to be very windy, but temperatures should still make it into the low to mid 70s across the area with, again, the best chance of storms out towards the west. And then as we go into Thursday morning, here comes the cold front sliding in from the north and west. Temperatures ahead of it in the 60s, but rapidly falling behind it. Now, if this front slows down and does not come through until later in the afternoon, we could see a redevelopment of strong to severe storms across our area and then rapidly move off towards the east, much like what we saw on Saturday. Cold air is going to be in place over the eastern half of the country, mild air on the west coast. This is the 8 to 14 day period, and believe it or not, we could see some records around here. Not the kind we like to see this time of year, though. 76 tomorrow, partly cloudy skies. Showers and storms come back in on Thursday, and again, some of those could be strong. Better chance of storms on Friday, but look at the high on Saturday, 51. If we made it to 51, that would tie the record high for the lowest max for that date. And then look at Sunday morning, 30 degrees would break a record going all the way back into the early 1900s, and then 59 on Sunday afternoon, 67 on Monday, and then more storms a little bit after that. So a roller coaster, Jalen. I hope you enjoy it and hang on for the ride.
Well, I'm not going to enjoy if we end up breaking those records.
Yeah, those are not the kind we like to set this time of year.
But all right, thank you, Sam. In Missouri, cleanup efforts are underway after 7 tornadoes tore through the St. Louis area Saturday evening. Several counties are dealing with blocked roads, damaged buildings, and no power. John Kipper has more.
To give you an extent of some of the damage here in Fenton, this pile of rubble here actually came from that old firehouse behind me as it flew into this church parking lot sometime during the storm. Down the road, other residents were dealing with their own damage. Sunday was a day of work for Brian Anderson. He was boarding up his master bedroom window after the storm took it out last night.
Well, it kind of sucks.
He wasn't home at the time, but his family was, including his son Jacob.
My little brother was looking out the window and he was like, hey, the trampoline's gone.
So on Saturday night, Jacob came running outside with no jacket and found the mangled trampoline with the netting still attached, making it vulnerable to flutter away again and cause more damage.
And we were like trying to put it in the garage, but it wasn't going to fit in there. And I was like, wait, why don't we just take the net off so it doesn't like sail into the air? So we took it off right there while it was like pouring down rain.
This was not the only damage News 4 found in Fenton. The tornado's path also crossed over Booter Park. You could find uprooted trees that turned into playgrounds for kids. Drone 4 also spotted the missing roof from the old fire station. Back over at the Andersons, the trampoline is a lost cause. Siding and piping on both Anderson's and his neighbors' houses are damaged, and a window needs replaced.
Between this and that, it's probably a couple of grand.
A costly storm for some, but no injuries or fatalities were reported.
Coming up, We'll take a look at the rise of gas prices and why experts are warning it may get worse. A new report says it's getting easier for people to find what they need at the grocery store. But even though there were many improvements since the height of the pandemic, some shoppers still have some concerns. Fox News correspondent Marianne Rafferty has more.
A trip to the grocery store continues to put a pinch on Americans' wallets. Purdue University released its Consumer Food Insights for March. The report finds about 13% of consumers say they had a difficult time finding everyday necessities while shopping at the grocery store in March. That is a 9% decline compared to January 2022.
What we're seeing is a lot of the challenges we were having with supply chain issues are starting to dissipate.
Food spending is up by 5% from a year ago, but consumers believe food prices in the future will get better.
Consumers are expecting lower food prices in the future than we're experiencing currently.
Meanwhile, food insecurity continues to be a growing problem, especially among adults without a job.
I think that's certainly a topic that's relevant today as the new Farm Bill is being debated and questions related to work requirements to be eligible for SNAP. AKA the food stamp program, are certainly something that's being hotly debated right now in Washington.
UConn women's basketball star Paige Beckers is doing her part to address the problem by opening up a free grocery store at her alma mater, Hopkins West Junior High in Minnetonka, Minnesota.
I know that food insecurity is a big thing and it's a real thing. And I grew up very blessed and very fortunate to never have to worry about that, but I know not everybody has the same access.
Meanwhile, a recent report from the Labor Department says the cost to purchase food at restaurants increased last month at a faster pace than the price of groceries. Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
Americans are spending more money at restaurants than on groceries, and the gap is widening. People spent 20.7% more at restaurants last year, according to Commerce Department data compiled by JLL, and the figure rose to 29.5% in the first 2 months of 2023. In dollar terms, we spent about $130 on dining out for every $100 we spent on groceries to start the year. Gas prices are on the rise, and experts say they're about to get even worse. AAA reports the national average for a gallon of regular is now $3.67. It says that price has been on the rise for weeks, with Gas Buddy noting increases in 45 states. Experts from both organizations point to oil prices that topped $80 a barrel after OPEC Plus announced production cuts. Up next, dozens of golden retrievers come together to honor a dog who had been greeting Boston Marathon runners for years. Dozens of golden retrievers and humans came together in Boston yesterday to honor Spencer, the official race dog of the Boston Marathon who died in February. For years, Spencer had been one of the race's most beloved unofficial cheerleaders, encouraging runners who were making their way from the Hopkinton to downtown Boston and holding a Boston Strong banner. Footage posted to Instagram shows dogs and owners around Boston and the marathon's finish line, with some dogs seen wearing Spencer Strong signs. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Road workers are raising awareness about a safe driving zone and work zone. Plus, the Joplin City Council meets to discuss a citizen's request to ban alcohol shooter bottles. This week is National Work Zone Safety Awareness Week. The goal is to bring focus on the safety of workers and drivers through those areas. KOAM Shagun Bomdali has more.
National Walk Zone Awareness Week is a reminder to drivers to be extra cautious through walk zones and for workers to follow safety procedures to prevent accidents.
This gives us the opportunity to bring attention to provide additional safety and awareness to our work zone crews. By bringing this attention, our hopes are to provide a safer working environment for our crews on the road.
One construction worker tells me that the most common type of distraction he sees is cell phone use. He urges people to drop their phone and concentrate on the road.
We're away from our homes and our families, so getting everyone home safe is a big thing. We all have families, so safety is a forefront of everything.
Young says people should look out for signs when driving.
As you get closer to the work zone, we're going to have either cones, a flagger, or some sort of vehicle to present to say, hey, you do need to slow down.
please be cautious with this area.
Even for the walkers who have never experienced a walk zone accident, the danger is always there.
I've never been involved on a project where a vehicle has struck a piece of equipment or an individual, but it certainly happens, and that's unfortunate. It really does, and it's usually caused by a distraction or maybe improper signage, or someone's out in the way just not paying attention.
Reporting in Pittsburgh, Shagun Bamdele, KOAM News.
The Federal Highway Administration and the American Traffic Safety Services Association are the lead organizers of National Work Zone Safety Awareness Week. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and Cherokee County, Kansas Sheriff David Groves is reminding parents about the dangers posed by certain phone apps. He's asking parents to check what apps their kids are using that could open them up to dangerous situations. He says if you find an app like that, you should discuss them with your kids.
Provide more exposure to some of these apps. They can be dangerous in different ways. Some of them can be cryptic, some of them can provide GPS locations, and so it's important to know this and also have conversations with your kids that just because they may think that they're talking to another 14-year-old boy or girl, it could very well be a 50-year-old man that has ill intent for them.
Sheriff Groves posted a graphic of apps to keep an eye out for on his Facebook page. A Joplin resident spoke to the city council today about a proposal to ban alcohol shooter bottles. Shooters are the miniature bottles often used as samples or promotional items or found in hotel minibars. John Buck brought the proposal. He says banning them would prevent a lot of trash from ending up on the ground.
Everywhere. I mean, last year I walked 3,000 miles, and 80% of that's probably in the streets of Joplin, and the most found piece of trash while walking are those shooter bottles. And they're not just a problem with the homeless and transit population, they're a problem throughout our whole community. You know, finding them at the on-ramps off the highway, finding them at the Little League baseball parks.
The council says they plan to discuss the proposal further. These demonstrations in southeast Oklahoma are calling for the resignations of several county leaders who allegedly made racist comments. Governor Kevin Stitt says he too wants the McCurtain County Sheriff Commissioner, investigator, and jail administrator to step down. The McCurtain Gazette News says it recorded the local leaders expressing frustration they couldn't hang black people and threatening two reporters. At least 100 protesters gathered outside the county commissioners' meeting Monday. The accused leaders weren't in attendance. A teenager shot and seriously wounded in Kansas City last week was released from the hospital yesterday. 16-year-old Ralph Yarl, his family says, was trying to pick up his younger brothers when he mistook one address for another and was shot twice by the homeowner. Yarl's father says his son is responsive, making good progress, and being cared for by his mother, who is a nurse. Camilla Bernal has more.
The Kansas City community protesting on Sunday after 16-year-old Ralph Yarl was shot as he was trying to pick up his siblings last week. Police say Yarl accidentally went to the wrong address, where he was shot and seriously wounded by the homeowner. Officers arrived at the scene after a neighbor called 911 and took the homeowner immediately into custody.
Our heart goes out to the juvenile victim, and more than anything, to make sure that this child and this child's family knows that there are people working hard, a number of people working hard, to make sure there is justice for this person.
The homeowner, who has not been identified, was released after 24 hours pending further investigation. The police department says they're waiting to obtain a formal statement from the victim and further forensic evidence.
I want everyone to know that I'm listening, and I understand the concern that we are receiving from the community. The information that we have now, it does not say that it's racially motivated. That's still an active investigation. But as a chief of police, I do recognize the racial components of this case. I do recognize and understand the community's concern.
Yarl's aunt says her nephew loves music and is a section leader in his marching band. She says his goal is to attend Texas A&M University to study chemical engineering. Civil rights attorneys Lee Merritt and Benjamin Crump are representing the victim and his family and demanding swift action and are calling the shooting horrendous and unjustifiable.
As a mother of 3 children, this enrages me.
And protesters gathering Sunday outside the home where Jarl was shot, demanding justice.
He is alive. He is healing. Yes. So I just want to tell you thank you for being here, because my nephew is alive.
Authorities have charged the man, Andrew Lester, with first-degree assault and armed criminal action. A bit later, an Arizona Police Department teaches criminal justice students how to solve crimes with a mock homicide.
Well, folks, we started off chilly this morning with near record lows. It was down to 34 degrees, and we're going to see more records possibly in our forecast. But first, let's take a look outside, and you can see on the satellite view, well, I guess we're going to skip past the Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. We're going to go straight to the satellite and water vapor loop. You can see some activity moving in the western parts of our viewing area right now. These are just some high clouds. We're waiting for a bigger storm system on the west coast to make its way towards us. And when it does, that's when the rain chances are going to start to increase. Right now, winds are on the light side, so that's pretty good news. And if we take a look at over the last 36 hours, you can see that we were in the 60s yesterday. We dropped down into the 30s, and then this afternoon, we jumped up into the 70s. So a wild range in temperatures, and that of course occurs when we have a lot of dry air in place. And looking down the lane, we are going to have a partly cloudy Tuesday, a windy Wednesday, Thursday, some thunderstorms roll in, and then a cold weekend in store for the area. And we're going to see near record lows across the region, especially up towards the north and west. A lot of folks are not going to be happy about that, especially our farmers and ranchers. Right now, you can see the Venus star there in the distance over the Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, so looking like a pretty nice night. Allergies have been bad, and they are going to be again tomorrow with 11.3. And here's the temperatures today. 75 was our high, starting out at 34, which was only 4 degrees away from the record set back in 1953. Radar's all clear right now, not expecting a whole lot. Temperatures are very mild and pleasant, generally in the 50s and 60s on south winds. Rain chances are going to be low, but they're not zero, especially up towards the north. We could see some showers in the morning hours. There is a risk of severe weather on Wednesday, and that's going to mainly be out towards our west, may clip our northern and northwestern counties as we go into Wednesday night. But the bigger threat is going to be for Thursday, and looking at some late data that just came in, we could look at some severe weather in our area on Thursday afternoon, very similar to what we saw last Saturday. Rainfall amounts are expected to be heaviest in some isolated spots where we could see 1 inch or more, especially for those folks in southeast Kansas where they desperately need it. Lows tonight are going to be in the 50s, again with the best chance of showers up towards the north by morning. Then in the afternoon, partly cloudy skies with highs in the 70s, even the 80s. Out towards the west, a little bit breezy tomorrow. Then as we move into Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, we're going to see temperatures in the 60s across the area with southerly winds continuing. Wednesday afternoon looks very breezy with highs in the 70s, maybe approaching 80 out towards the west. And then here comes the cold front in on Thursday. I think this front might be a little bit slower now with temperatures in the 60s for Thursday morning. Cold across the eastern half of the country, mild out to the west. That just kind of goes to show you what kind of setup we're looking at as far as the forecast. Tomorrow, 76, great. 77 on Wednesday. Better chance of storms on Thursday. And like I said, some of those are going to be severe. And then as we head into the weekend, look at that. A record-tying high of 51 and then a record low of 30 on Sunday morning. And then more chances of rain early part of next week.
Yeah, so I grew up in both Illinois and Minnesota. So if I saw 30 degrees in April, I'd be like, oh, okay. But 30 degrees down here, I'm like, yeah, what is going on?
Yeah, a lot of the farmers are not going to be happy about that, but it's what can we do?
It is what it is. All right, thank you, Sam.
Right.
Coming up in sports, the former Oklahoma Sooners quarterback is now the highest paid player in NFL history. Plus, Frontenac and Girard meet for a CNC softball showdown in Girard. Jacob Leonard has those highlights and more next.
Well, two of the best softball teams in Southeast Kansas meet tonight in Girard, with the Trojans hosting the Frontenac Raiders. Girard is 8-1 overall to start the season, including 6-0 in the CNC. Frontenac is 2-0 in the league and has won 6 straight to start the season. The defending state champion Raiders try to stay perfect today in a doubleheader with the Trojans. To start first inning, Eleanor Reek Good start for Girard in the circle. Gets the strikeout there. Game scoreless after 1. Bottom second. Check out Frontenac's Caitlin Hayslip here. Perfect throw to second. Gets the runner trying to steal. We're still scoreless after 2. And the 4th. Raiders get on the board first. Hayslip through the left side. Abby Beeman scores to make it 1-0 Frontenac. And moments later, grounder to shortstop. Check out Aaron Anderson. Aaron Anderson gets the tag and the throw to first. Double play for Aaron Anderson gets the Trojans out of the inning. Bottom 4, Girard ties it back up. It's Reek helping her own cause, drops it into left. Anderson scores. That makes it 1-1 on the RBI single. Anderson really comes up big for Girard in this one with it tied at 1 in the 5th. She gets a 3-run homer. That was the difference. Girard takes game 1 over Frontenac 4-1, handing the Raiders their first loss of the season. So in game 2, Girard aims for the sweep, but it's Frontenac rebounding to take that one 5-1. Raiders are now 7-1 this season, while Girard is 9-2. High school baseball here. Pittsburgh hosts a doubleheader against St. Thomas Aquinas this afternoon. Down 3-0 in the 5th. This is the guy you want up, Jackson Turnbull, with the bases loaded. He hits it hard, but Weston Boyle makes the leaping grab at short for the out. Then in the 7th, Pittsburgh down to their final chance. Again, bases loaded, but Colin Conrad gets the strikeout to end the ballgame. Dragons out-hit Aquinas, but fail to score, and they commit 4 errors in the game. Aquinas shuts out Pittsburgh 3-0. On game 2, Pittsburgh is able to score. That's the good news. Bad news, the Saints scored a lot. Aquinas takes it, makes it a sweep, taking game 2 15-1. The Kansas City Royals open a 3-game series tonight with the Texas Rangers. The Royals kind of in a slump right now, losing 6 of their last 7. Didn't really get better tonight. Kansas City shut out 4-0. It's the 4th time they've been shut out this season. The St. Louis Cardinals kick off a 3-game series at home against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Cards fall in that one 6-3. Alec Burleson gets a 2-run homer for St. Louis. Eagles quarterback and former Oklahoma Heisman winner Jalen Hurts is now the highest paid player in NFL history. Hurts has signed a 5-year, $255 million extension with the Eagles. Now that is $51 million per season, the highest annual salary in the league history. $179 million of that is guaranteed. Hurts is just 24 years old and was an MVP candidate last season. He led Philadelphia to a Super Bowl appearance against the Chiefs, where he diced up Kansas City, 374 total yards, 4 touchdowns. His 43 total touchdowns last season is a new franchise record for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know Chiefs fans certainly know what that guy can do, right?
Absolutely. And then I was thinking about it earlier. 5 years ago, he was competing in spring ball with Tua Tagovailoa, and 5 years later, he gets a 5-year contract, making him the highest paid player.
His journey over that time is an incredible story and good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been a fan. I'm going to keep on rooting. We're back with more news after this. Police in Arizona holding a mock murder demonstration to help criminal justice students learn how to examine and gather evidence at a crime scene. Fox's Stephen Nielsen has more.
It's a murder. Yellow crime scene tape surrounding the scene of a heinous crime. Detectives collecting evidence in an effort to solve it. It's as real as it gets, other than the fact that it's not real.
It's a vehicle, there's a body, there's some blood evidence, some fingerprint evidence.
These are students at Scottsdale Community College getting first-hand knowledge on how crime scenes are processed and solved. Scottsdale Police Department crime scene technicians set it up and help them find the clues to solve the case.
I really want to learn how to get here. I want to do this.
SCC professors say it's not about teaching future officers, but instead showing all of the opportunities.
Oftentimes we hear only about police officers, the women and men that wear the badges and the guns, but for every 2 police officers, there is at least 1 civilian or professional staff person that supports their mission on the streets.
We want them to understand that the law enforcement world is wide open. There are lots of jobs, there are a lot of opportunities, and we need good people in all of the agencies across the valley.
It's a first-hand look at how to be a part of finding closure and justice and figuring out who it is in this mock whodunit.
A substitute teacher in Mesquite, Texas has been fired after allegedly organizing students who fight in class. A 13-year-old student shot this video of the incident in Kimbo Middle School on Wednesday. Now, that student's mother, Beatriz Martinez, says she fears for her daughter's safety and that her daughter is receiving threats for shooting the video. The teacher encouraged fights, outlined rules for the kids to follow, and even had a student monitor the classroom door while the fights took place. Coming up, a reunion between a man who received a life-saving organ transplant and the family of the man who donated that organ. A Milwaukee man drove to Indiana to thank the people who helped save his life. The heart beating in his chest originally belonged to a young man whose parents decided to donate his organs. Karen Campbell has the story.
Two families meeting for the first time.
I ain't as tough a cop as I thought I would.
Law enforcement veteran Keith Thrower came to the Indiana Donor Network.
Man.
All the way from Wisconsin.
All the stuff I used to do, now I can do it again.
To meet Debbie and Dan Patterson. Thrower received their son's heart. Nick was 31.
You want to hear?
A gift, Thrower says, that gives him a second chance.
Because I was going to actually get an inscription to thank Nick on my arm.
Nick Patterson died of a drug overdose in 2021.
They don't feel self-worth, a lot of times. So by us donating, I was giving Nick that before he passed. At least, saving 3 people's lives would give him some worth,
Thrower suffered several heart attacks, had triple bypass surgery, and undiagnosed Legionnaire's disease. His doctor said his life was fading fast unless he received a new heart. Thrower got the call that saved his life.
If it wasn't for the Pattersons, I wouldn't be here. So, I just had to say thank you. It's just something you feel you have to do as a recipient.
You'll get invited this fall to come back and do more.
Nick's name now among others on the Indiana Donor Network wall, something the Pattersons can hold on to, knowing their son could help save a life.
And that's our time for tonight, and thank you all so much for joining us. But before you go, we'll leave you with the video of a squirrel enjoying a snack. Be safe, and we'll do this all again tomorrow. See you then.